All right, so you see this lens right here. This is the lens that most people start off with the Sony camera. It's the primary kit lens for Sony APS C Cameras. It's a 1650mm with a variable aperture of f3.5 to f5.6. But eventually, you're gonna want to upgrade this because you're getting into photography and you're excited. You wanna try new lenses and see if it improves the quality of your photos. So if you have a Sony APS C camera, I did some research and looked into it, and I found what might be the best and also economical choice for upgrading from this guy for your first aftermarket lens. And that lens is gonna be the Sigma 1850mm lens. So why is this lens amazing? Let's go ahead and find out. Okay, so before I start going into what I love about this lens right here, I'm gonna go ahead and go into some drawbacks that you lose from switching to this lens to moving to the Sigma. The first and probably the most beginner-friendly tool that this lens has is optical steady shot. What optical steady shot is going to help you do is it's going to eliminate camera shake. So when you're doing photos or video, you still don't really know how to hold the camera and haven't really mastered how to keep your camera still when taking a photo or video, this optical steady shot is going to aid you into getting a more stable photo for less motion blur or more stable video. The other thing is this is a pretty small lens, and one of the reasons why I'm never going to get rid of it. If I want something that's extremely small form factor, I'm gonna take this because this on this APS C camera, it's so small, you can't even tell. I want something that's extremely small form factor, and this lens on this camera, it can actually just even fit in my pocket sometimes. So typically, I use a full frame camera for most of my professional photos or nature photography, but I wanted to see how I can better utilize my APS C camera. And after researching, I found this 1850mm f2.8 lens from Sigma. Here, let me give you a closer look of this lens.
So as you see right here, this is the Sigma 1850mm lens. It has a maximum aperture of f2.8, which will perform well in low light scenarios, as well as give you a good depth of field and blurry background for good bokeh. And the form factor of this lens is it's pretty small for the quality that you get from it. The build quality feels like a very premium quality lens. It feels good in your hand. Both the zoom ring and the focus ring feel very nice to touch. It's very smooth, not jittery at all. And this lens weighs around 290 grams. So even though it's a little bit heavier than the Sony kit lens, it's still a pretty lightweight lens.
One of the important aspects of buying a lens or any camera gear is how much does it cost? This kit lens, you can find used on eBay for like 70 bucks, I think. They're really very inexpensive. This is going to run you brand new around $550, and I think the value there is absolutely insane, especially when you take into consideration that the Sony equivalent to this lens is around $1,300. So this is less than half of what that lens costs, and I'm extremely confident that the quality to price ratio that Sigma, achieves within their lenses, especially because I use my 24-70 during wedding photography, my Sigma 24-70, and I absolutely love the quality from it. I really don't think you can go wrong getting this lens, saving that extra money, and still walking away with an extremely high quality photo. Now, I don't have personal experience in this, but from what I read online, the major drawback and the major difference between the Sigma lens and the Sony lens that costs $1,300 is the Sony lens does focus a bit faster. So if you're doing something like sports or fast moving photography, that might impact you. But for landscape and nature photography or even wedding photography or just slower portrait photography, this lens is gonna get the job done for a fraction of the price. So an additional thing that I was kind of surprised with this lens was the minimal focal range of this lens. Let me go ahead and show you what that looks like.
Let me preface this with, this is not a macro lens. But if you're a beginner photographer that wants to do a variety of things, you can still get some pretty cool macro-ish shots. This lens has a minimal focal length of 12 centimeters, which in comparison, the kit lens, it's around 25 centimeters. So you can get considerably closer to your object and take some fun macro-ish style shots.
So while this lens is a really good all-around lens, especially for beginners and your first upgrade, if you're looking into getting into something like wildlife photography, it's not going to be enough focal length for you. So there's some geese out in the distance there. I'll go ahead and show you what I mean. I'll go ahead and zoom in all the way to 50 millimeters and take a quick photo. And taking a look at this photo in post, obviously I'm not looking at it in post, but you're going to be seeing it in post. Zooming in and cropping in, you can see, they show up. It's fine. It's a casual photo, but the more and more you zoom in, it deteriorates in quality quite a bit. And that's because, cropping or digital zoom, as you call it, it's gonna not produce the best results. If you're looking into doing something like wildlife photography, I definitely recommend at least a 70-200. And if not, if you can afford one, a 200-600.
So I took both the Sony kit lens and the Sigma lens on a hike with me, and I wanted to do some side-by-side comparison photos to see if you can tell the difference between the two lenses. Now, my idea with this comparison was I didn't want to use any ND filters, and I wanted to use it in more of like a beginner-friendly type scenario where I'm not doing any focus stacking or light blending. So you can truly try and see if out of the box if this lens will improve your photos. So playing the photos back to back to each other, the first photo that you see is going to always be the Sigma lens, followed by the Sony kit lens. Let me know in the comments if you think you saw any differences or any other thoughts you might have regarding this comparison.
All in all, I think you can't go wrong with the Sigma lenses, especially this 18-50mm Sigma lens. It's going to be an extreme upgrade from your kit lens that you got with your Sony camera, and you're going to be extremely happy with the quality and results you get from it. Please, if you have any questions or need something answered for this lens, if you're interested in buying one, let me know down in the comments. I'll do my best to help you out and hopefully aid you in making your purchase decision. $550, it is cheaper on the lens side, but it's still $550. You don't want to buy the wrong lens if it's not right for you. I'll be blunt and honest with you, but I think it is or isn't the right lens for you. I hope this video helped you out, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys.